is a very important thing. Not all plants can tolerate it. We have some dry spots, and we have some that flood pretty often. And then, of course, we have our pond as well. So this is just a helpful hint to look at all the different buffers.
Hold on, are Mark and Crystal seeing your presentation?
Can you guys see this?
See which part? You can see the slide.
Okay, that's what we wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of different tree species on here. On the poster board, along the outside edge, I just kind of left the trees and the plants that are there currently. I really like having the border edge for like privacy and to keep everything more together, I think. So we're not getting like the traffic noise and neighbors' dogs barking and stuff. But we added a couple different species in here. So our thornless honey locust are going to mimic the John Hershey trees over at Timber Pass. The photo that you showed, I was going to put on here. So we have our honey locust trees lining the driveway, and in between the honey locust trees are the persimmon trees as well. And we'll talk about some of the ground cover that's underneath here too. I think I was going to put the ground peanuts down here to catch some of the persimmons as they're falling to the ground. So they get squashed when they hit the ground. Other ones that we have pawpaws, and different areas are going to have different varieties of pawpaws. There's many different cultivars. So we have some pawpaws over here. We've got them mixed in the forest. We've got some down in this like meditation garden as well. So everywhere you'll go, you'll find like little patches of pawpaw. We have American plum, crabapple, and sassafras also kind of like spread out throughout the property as well. Other tree species, we have the river birches that you saw. They were in tree tubes. They're at the top of the pond and then over to the side. I might add a couple more into there as well because with the river birch, the peeling bark, it's a great craft material. I'm a very crafty person, so you can do like a lot of different things out of it. You can do basket weaving, you can do your own paper, basically anything. We have the original maple trees that are over in this forested spot. We're going to add some oaks in there. We have the red cedars that prefer like the drier soil, so they're going to be over on the field side. Down here along the road, we'll have the redbuds and the flowering dogwoods because they're visually stimulating. So as people drive by, it's very welcoming. It's very beautiful throughout the year. Then we have our American pussy willow, which is another favorite of mine, just because the branches just get covered in these beautiful fuzzy little flowers. And we'll get into another reason in a little bit why I like them so much. Can you guys in the back see the poster board? Do you need me to bring it closer?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
Can you see it? Yes.
So we have a couple different shrub species throughout here. Most of our spice bushes are going to be over in the forest area, kind of lining the outer edge. Virginia sweet spire is one that's my favorite too. That's the red leaf that's there. That's what it looks like in the fall. Very beautiful, native. We have our New Jersey tea, which is one that you can actually pull the leaves off of and actually make some teas. They are edible. We have the mountain laurels, which will be woven in between the trees in the forest, creating like little pathways. I didn't really draw them on here because I didn't want it to be like so compact, but there's going to be like the mountain laurels and the other shrubs and little walkways throughout the forest. And then we have some button bush in here as well. Button bush, we would say, would be over in this area because they're a little bit more wet tolerant. Some other ones that I thought would be really cool to put in here, it was the hog peanut, not the ground peanut. So the hog peanut would be underneath the pawpaws and the persimmons to be that ground cover to catch all of them as they happen so they don't get squished. We have ramps out in the forest area, in between the trees. We've got cattails, which you guys saw a ton of. We were thinking about cutting some back and getting rid of a lot of them because it's too much. And then as I was doing research, I found out they're edible. So you can actually eat a lot of the cattails. You can eat the roots, you can eat the green shoots as they're coming up. You can use the leaves to weave baskets. And something really interesting is when the seed pods are still green, you can actually cook them and eat them like corn on the cob. But they have to be green. We have our pickerel root weed, which is the bottom corner with the purple flower that's in the water. Service berries would be along the edge of the pond, right along here. That's those four there. And then we have our elderberries that were kind of mixed in along the back. So with the wet meadows, we're kind of leaving those mostly untouched. We're going to add in some beneficial plants in there, maybe some that have some medicinal uses, some that might be edible. But for the most part, we're going to leave that area alone, kind of just let it go wild and do its own thing. I do have some wildflower meadows that are along the vegetable gardens and along the side near like the driveway on the side of the property. These are a couple of different species that we saw. We saw the New York ironweed, which is that bottom middle picture, and the jewelweed, which is that orange one that's right here. That one is great because we have a lot of poison ivy, and that one helps stop the itch of poison ivy. And then we have our sedges with the cone flowers that would be along the edge of the wet meadow because they don't tolerate as much water. The great blue lobelia, that one would be along the edge of the pond as well, just to be kind of very soothing as you're just sitting down, relaxing, watching the pond. It attracts a lot of butterflies and wildlife. Some things I learned was about the herb spirals, and there's so many different types of ways to do the herb spirals. This one I like the most, I think, because where I'm going to be putting it is right by the beehives, and I thought that little frog pond would be great for giving a little bit needed moisture and water for the bees to drink. And then I learned about all the different stages and heights and levels of the herb spiral. So at the very top you have like the rosemary, the thyme, the oregano, and then the next layer, starting from the top going down, you have the chives and the parsley, and then you have the basil, lavender, and sage, and it's all based on the direction as well. So like the sunny south side is going to be the lavender and the basil and the sage. The lower north side would be the cilantro and the dill. So this was something new that I learned, and I really like the shape of. And again, that's going to be like right over here, right near the house, right near the beehives as well. I'll point that out to you at the end, right here. And then around it, I wanted to have the bee balm just kind of circling around the herb spiral. Maybe add a couple other different plants in there, just because it benefits the bees as well, and it benefits us. I'm very big into meditation gardens. I find it very soothing and relaxing. So I've got a couple different ones in here. I've got one that's down in this corner, which is mostly like a pawpaw grove, I put one of those trellises over it as like an entranceway into the pawpaw grove. There's a little bench there. And it's just a place to sit and relax, be low to the ground, because when we were at Dale's, we had to like crunch down really low and walk under there. And it was something really soothing to have all the pawpaws above your head, and you could just pick one off, and if it's ripe enough, you just eat it there and just sit under there. There'd probably be some like ramps and stuff growing as well as that the hog peanut. Over here, where it's a little bit sunnier, right above the pond, we have that rock spiral. And I think that's great too for like, there's different types of meditation. It doesn't always have to be sitting, closing your eyes, and being centered. Sometimes being like listening to the birds and everything around you and walking might be somebody's way of meditating. Like if somebody has a lot of energy. So I put in the spiral because you can do that like a maze, and you can just constantly be walking around in circles. And at the very end, there'll be like a little bench, so you can take a break, listen, stop, ground yourself, and then you can continue walking. And for me, I think that would be like soothing on those busy days where I need to take a minute and just burn some energy. In this area here, I really like being outside and camping. So I set up like a little private like garden area where it has like a little tent, there's a campfire, picnic table, and it'll have a lot of these beautiful flowers in there as well. So it'll have the turtle head and the bleeding heart plants in there. The one right next to it is going to be like a hangout area. So it's another meditation garden. You can sit there, you can have a picnic lunch with your friends, and you've got a trellis over your little bench thing just to kind of sit there and relax. So we have our vegetable garden section, which is going to be on the field side, towards the back of the property. We have it fenced in because we have a lot of deer, and we don't want the deer to eat everything. And then, like I said, right around the outside of it, we have the wildflowers, just to help our pollinators, benefit the vegetables that we're growing. And then for the vegetable washing station, we actually put it down here. I wanted to put it down here closer to the classroom, so that as people are coming in and doing education, we can teach them proper ways to handle the produce, proper ways to clean it and sanitize it and get it ready for market. So we have that closer to the buildings too, and that will drain into our wet meadow. It's a little bit of gray water, but it's mostly just going to be water. We're not going to do too many like chemicals or anything. So this is a big passion of mine. This is our plant nursery. This is what got me kind of started in the permaculture side of things. So I take live stakes. So I'll go to these species that are listed here: the American pussy willow, the nannyberry, 9-bark, red osier dogwood. Pawpaw is not one that we live stake, but we do grow a lot of them. I think we have like 57 or something like that growing right now in pots. But basically with the live stakes, you just take a cutting of the branch, and then we soak it in water, and it starts growing roots from what would be leaf nodes. And then we'll put it in a pot, and it'll start growing like a new tree. And you can see in the bottom corner the height difference. You can see where I had cut it and where the new branches have started. It's the same height as our garage. And then we also have honey locust seeds that we started from seed. I had just randomly thrown them into a planter, not thinking they were going to do anything, because I think I overboiled them when I was processing honey locust powder, and they came up anyway. So, and that plant nursery will be in like the greenhouse area, and for when we're trying to harvest the live stakes, we would have those plants growing along the edges of the wet meadow. That way we can have the supply that we need. We can, as it's getting too big, we can cut them down, we can pot them, and we can just keep having our own stock. We have the education classrooms. I'm very big into education. I've been working as a naturalist for a number of years. So we have our boardwalk areas where we can stop and talk about the plants in the wet meadow, maybe identify some of the insects that are there and some of the wildlife. We have the little dock here so we can observe the pond life, because that's very different from the life that's going to be in our wet meadow, in our fields, in our forests. And that's also a great spot for fishing, because we want to stock the pond. Maybe some dip netting if we want to teach kids about macroinvertebrates. And then we have our little classroom area here, which is just like a covered pavilion. A little area that we can sit, take some notes, do a little bit more, normal classroom teaching. If we have a PowerPoint or something, or want to get out of the weather. So here we have our barn dominium, which is horse barn down below, apartment above. And in the front, we'll have picnic tables, kind of like Dale had, so we can all just sit together and eat, talk. And then right behind it, this section right here is going to be animal enclosures. I'm also a wildlife major, so I would have owls and hawks that were unreleasable because they had broken wings or something. They would be in the cages behind the barn dominium, using up those horse stalls. And they'll have an outside area too.
That's cool.
We have our farm stand. This one is mobile because I don't want to have to deal with any of the permitting for putting another building on. So if we have it on wheels, we can just take it to any farmer's market. We can go over to Bellevue. We can just, pack everything up, put it inside, and keep on going. Things that we would sell are, of course, our produce. But what we specialize in are the honey locust powder that we process that not a lot of people have. We have our recipe books. The John Hershey cookbook is the first one that we've done, and I plan myself making a whole bunch of other cookbooks, so hopefully selling those at farmers markets. And then in the bottom corner is a persimmon biscotti, and the other one is a honey locust powdered biscotti that we could sell as well, just to give people a little treat and see what they taste like. Of course, we have the animals again. With the unreleasable wildlife, if we ever did get an emu, which is my favorite animal, we'd probably have that running around in the forest area so that they can run around. They'll also eat some of the poison ivy. We have the goats that'll be in the forest area, eating all that poison ivy that we don't want around. And then, like I said, we have the bird rescue over here in the barn dominium area. We'll have some free-range chickens. The chicken coop will be on wheels so that we can move it wherever, because it's a lot better for the soil if they're not in one spot. And how I saw my friend do it is that they actually had them trained. So at nighttime they were trained to come back into the coop to be protected from the foxes, and then during the day they released them and they did their own thing. And then we'll stock the fish into the pond. Different variety of species. We have to figure out how deep it is. But that'll keep down the mosquitoes and the bugs that we have. It's a food source for us as well. It'll help with the biodiversity. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, do you have any of that?
So this picture right here is the chicken of the woods mushroom.
Yep.
So something I would add to is I've got a wood pile over here. We can try to do the mushroom part. I'm still learning about them, so I have to figure that out. And as we go, we'll add more and adapt the whole permaculture farm.
Nice.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Wonderful.
So the herb spiral, that's really interesting. Is there a walking path within that, or have you?
No, so herb spirals are pretty small usually.
Okay.
That small enough that you can walk around it and you can just reach in. If you wanted to, you could probably do one for like that labyrinth area. You can have some around the edge where the rocks are. If you wanted more room, if you have more herbs. But all the ones that I saw in that one, it's probably going to be just like this area right here in front of us.
It'd be an arm length.
Yeah, so we can reach it. We can cut it. Yeah, it's about accessibility and having it small enough that anyone can put it into their house, regardless of where they are, and just put it right up against the house. And I've seen herb spirals where they start low and then they go up high, and I've seen some that are flat as well. So they can be all different shapes and sizes. Yep.
Would it be fenced the whole way around?
So I don't want it to have it fenced because we do have some wildlife that come in, and I don't want to stop the deer that are already there. The deer I've observed, I haven't seen them, but I've seen evidence of them. They lay nests in the wet meadow, and they'll just push down the grass. The babies will lay there, and I really don't want to disturb them because part of the wildlife aspect is that we're losing a lot of habitat. So I definitely want to keep that habitat there for them since they've been here for generations. And that's why I have like the trees along the outside edge. It's enough room for them to pass through, but it's enough to keep people out. It's enough to block sounds, have a little bit of privacy, keep the chickens in maybe, hopefully. Any other questions?
Mark and Crystal, do you have any questions?
Crystal had to leave, but she says congratulations to everybody. And as far as me, gosh, I just, man, what a huge vision. And man, I just think about financing, I guess.
It'll be in phases, definitely. So the first...
Go you know, live the dream, girl, get it.
Definitely in phases. And I should probably go into that too. Like we'll have, I'm thinking the first space, since there's really hardly, we have some of the plant species that I was talking about already on the property, so that helps. But the first one I would focus on is the pond, and then the forest, and then once we have enough for the building, we can't do anything really in the field side until we have that building in place, because I don't want to put in plants and have it run over by construction trucks. So that'll be the last part. We can start doing stuff towards like the back or like something out of the way, but nothing in like the center. That's going to be permanent. But yeah, definitely the pond and the forest are the first parts.
Okay.
And
I love the barnuminium. Is that something you coined, or is that something that's a thing out there in the world?
It's a thing out there. And it's half the cost of a house too. So if you're looking for more space and less money, barnuminium is the way to go. And the one I had looked up is, I think it has 5 horse stalls, which you can convert into storage for your tools, or I was thinking like 2 or 3 of them could be the animal enclosures. One of them could be like an office or a hangout area, maybe like a second living room. And then upstairs is a 3-bedroom apartment.
That sounds cool.
Yeah. And it's a lot cheaper. And then if you ever needed to, you can always convert the bottom part into like a second apartment or like an extension from the upstairs.
That's really
Yeah.
awesome. Grants. Grant money.
Oh yeah, there's tons of grants out there too. Like, I would put solar on the roof. You can get grants for solar panels. You can get grants to help you with, as I forget who it was, they had the backyard wildlife certification. The more of those certifications you get, they open you up to more grants too. I'm always a fan and an advocate saying that go out there and see if we can get some help. There's farm grants that you can get too to help a little bit. And education. If you have the education portion, you have that to help teach.
Great work.
Yeah.
Yeah, great, Carrie.
That was really great.
I mean, it's amazing to see that land when we saw it and to see the vision.
Right.
Yeah, this is like the dream. This is the dream. And like anything with a permaculture farm, it would adapt and change as time goes on. But yeah.
Guess we take a break in the middle.
Yeah, I guess we'll take a break now and
Go
we'll
to
see
the
what
next.
goes next.
Does she stop us in between?
Yeah, she's
Yeah.